Welcome back to My Mosaic for another deep dive. We're so glad you're here with us. And hey, if you're enjoying these explorations, hit that subscribe button and join our awesome community. As an emerging channel, your support really means a lot to us.
Absolutely.
Today we're tackling a question that might just make you rethink those birthday candles. Could the season you were born in actually shape your personality? Now, before you think we've traded our lab coats for crystal balls, we're not talking astrology here. But the science behind birth season and its potential impact, that's something worth exploring.
Absolutely. What's so interesting is that we're not talking about mystical forces or anything like planetary alignments. It's really tangible environmental factors during pregnancy and early childhood that can have lasting effects. Things like maternal nutrition, exposure to sunlight, and even, those pesky seasonal viruses, making their rounds when you were just a tiny human.
I see. So it's less about what the stars are doing and more about what's happening right here on Earth. I like it. Bring on the science.
Exactly. For example, researchers have found really interesting links between sunlight exposure and brain development. A study on mice showed that those born and weaned in simulated winter light had some real trouble adjusting to that summer light later on. They weren't feeding as well, their activity levels were off, and even their genes regulating circadian rhythms showed differences compared to the mice that were born in the summer.
Hold on, mice with jet lag. That's both adorable and kind of unsettling. Are you suggesting humans are just like oversized, less furry, calendar-obsessed creatures too?
Well, maybe not obsessed with calendars, but researchers are finding similar patterns in humans. They've analyzed personality traits in large groups of people and then looked for connections to their birth seasons. And the results. Let's just say they're enough to make you wonder if there's something to this whole birth season theory after all.
Okay, you've officially piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
Let's break it down by season, shall we? What's the deal with those born when the flowers start blooming? Our spring babies.
Spring babies are an interesting bunch. They tend to score high on something called hyperthymia.
Hyperthymia.
Yeah. Think of it as having an internal cheerleader that's always on. You're naturally optimistic, energetic, and tend to see the world through rose-colored glasses.
Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? Always looking on the bright side.
It can be.
Yeah.
However, there's a flip side. Spring babies, especially those born in May, also have a statistically higher risk of experiencing depression. It's a bit of a paradox, this mix of high highs and potential for lows.
Wow. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
So spring babies might be prone to dramatic shifts in mood. I guess April showers do bring May flowers and maybe a few emotional thunderstorms along the way.
Perhaps. But let's move on to the summer months. Those born under the summer sun, soaking up all those long sunny days, what about them?
Yeah. Those lucky ducks. I'd imagine summer babies are all sunshine and rainbows, right? No winter blues for them.
You're not wrong. Summer babies tend to be pretty positive and less prone to seasonal affective disorder, SAD, which makes sense considering they're born during those glorious sun-drenched months. Sunlight and vitamin D play a big role in mood regulation, so it's not surprising they'd be feeling the good vibes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Everyone seems a bit brighter when there's more sunshine. But what about those mood swings you mentioned earlier? Do summer babies experience those too?
They do, but it's more of a gentle wave than a tsunami. They might experience what's called cyclothymia, which involves cycling between high and low moods. But these fluctuations are typically less intense than those experienced by people with bipolar disorder. Interestingly, summer babies, particularly those born in August, actually have the lowest rates of bipolar disorder diagnoses.
Okay. So maybe summer babies are like the emotional equivalent of a convertible. Fun, sunny, and always up for an adventure, but maybe a bit of a bumpy ride at times. What about when the leaves start to change and those pumpkin spice lattes make their grand return? What are autumn babies like?
Fall babies. They're the grounded ones, like a sturdy oak tree. They tend to be balanced and even-keeled. Research shows they have lower rates of both depression and bipolar disorder.
That's interesting. So while summer babies are cruising around in their emotional convertibles, fall babies are taking a scenic hike through the forest of feelings, enjoying the stability, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They seem to navigate the emotional landscape with a bit more steadiness, but remember, no personality type is perfect.
Oh, there's got to be a catch, right? Nobody's that zen all the time. Spill the pumpkin spice tea.
Well, fall babies do have a slight tendency toward irritability.
Yeah, makes sense. Maybe it's because Halloween candy is gone and they're dealing with a collective sugar crash. I know, I get a bit hangry that. Okay, we've covered spring, summer, and fall. That leaves us with those born when the days are short and the nights are long, our winter babies. What insights does the research offer about them?
Winter can be a tough season, and unfortunately that seems to reflect in the personality trends associated with winter babies. They tend to have higher rates of mental health challenges, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and depression.
Oh, that's really rough. But hey, at least they have all that holiday cheer to balance things out, right?
Mm.
Plus, cozy nights by the fireplace, hot cocoa. Maybe those things help.
Those certainly don't hurt. And there are indeed some silver linings for our winter friends. They're generally less irritable than those born in the fall. Makes sense considering they're born during a season when kindness and generosity are emphasized. Perhaps all that holiday spirit rubs off.
Right. I guess those holiday traditions could have a positive impact on mood, even subconsciously. It's like a built-in dose of good cheer. Wait, you mentioned something earlier about winter babies and fame.
Ah, yes. There is a small study based on a group of about 300 celebrities that suggests those born in January and February might be more likely to achieve fame. It's not conclusive, of course, but a curious finding nonetheless.
So winter babies might be misunderstood. Geniuses in the making, huh? Braving the cold, conquering the darkness, and then bam, superstardom. But seriously, what could explain that connection between winter births and fame?
The researchers theorized it might be linked to increased creativity and problem-solving skills, perhaps honed by having to adapt to a more challenging environment from the get-go. But again, this is just one study, so more research is definitely needed.
Okay, so it's not a guarantee that every January baby is destined for the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But it's still super intriguing. It really makes you wonder about the subtle ways our birth season might influence who we become.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that all of this is based on statistical patterns. It's not about predicting anyone's destiny or putting people in boxes. We're all unique individuals shaped by a multitude of factors.
Right. Our birth season isn't a crystal ball. It's more like a slightly smudged window into some potential tendencies. It's definitely food for thought, though, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And if we connect this back to you, the listener, it makes you think about your own personality. What are your strongest traits, both the ones you love and the ones that might, cause you a little trouble? Could any of them be connected to the season you were born in?
Yeah, that's such a cool way to look at it. I'm a July baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely see myself in that summer baby profile. I'm usually pretty optimistic. But I'll admit, sometimes my emotions can be a bit, well, let's just say I've been accused of being a tad dramatic from time to time. Maybe it's that whole convertible ride you were talking about.
Perhaps. But here's what I find really empowering about all of this research. Knowing this information, could you leverage those positive traits even more and maybe find ways to navigate those potential downsides?
You mean like, should I be keeping a stash of mood-boosting snacks on hand if I'm a spring baby? Or invest in a really good sun lamp if I'm a winter baby?
Exactly. It's not about changing who you are, but understanding how these seasonal influences might be playing a role, even subconsciously. It's about taking ownership of your well-being.
So it's less about, I can't help it, I'm a winter baby.
Yeah.
And more about being aware of potential patterns and taking proactive steps.
Exactly. It's like having a bit of insider information about yourself. And while this is a relatively new area of research, it's exciting to think that something as simple as the time of year we're born could have such a lasting impact.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even if we don't have all the answers yet, it's fascinating to consider these connections. It reminds us that there's always more to learn about ourselves and the world around us.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, a huge thank you to all of you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of birth seasons and personality. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. Hopefully it's given you some new insights into yourself and those around you.
And remember, if you're digging these deep dives into the mysteries of the human experience, hit that subscribe button and help us spread the word about Mind Mosaic. Your support means everything to us as we continue to grow and explore.
And if this episode sparked any aha moments for you, we'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going.
Until next time, stay curious, keep those minds open, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.